Every drop of water is part of a journey. It begins as water vapor that falls to earth as rain. For the next 25 years, it's filtered through volcanic rock. At last, it arrives at its final destination. Really? Can somebody come fix this?
When it comes to water, don't waste a drop. You don't have to go to extremes to save water. For easy water-saving tips, visit boardofwatersupply.com.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Always great to see you guys here. Today is February 25th, 2019. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Water Supply. Can't believe 2 months of the year is already gone. I'd like to start out today with some items requiring board action. First on the agenda this afternoon is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 28, 2019. Can I call for a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 28th. I hope you've all had a chance to review them. Are there any?
I have a question. Not about the minutes, but about one of the subjects in the minutes.
Okay.
I have to admit that reviewing the audit was hard for me. And then coming in here prepared to ask questions was equally hard because that's not the pace at which these meetings move.
don't have, at this time, we don't have a committee specifically on that. Our committees consist of, because we're a small board, our committees consist of the permitted interaction groups that we form from time to time, namely the real estate redevelopment. We also had one for water rate setting. But if you know, we could place it on the next the agenda for the next month, so we can give adequate notice.
I don't want to add
Explore that.
more burden to the staff than necessary. It's just that that's a tough document to have a conversation in this setting.
I'm wondering if, because I know a lot of the documents and Manager, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that any documents that are required for review are sent to us prior to the board meeting through board booklet.
Yeah, we provide a copy of the audit report ahead of time. So what we can also do, maybe in the future, is actually try to get that report to you well ahead of the board meeting to give the board members ample time to call me for questions, or even maybe request a meeting. I can meet with, without having to sunshine,
That'd be a
with
good idea.
a single board member, or maybe up to 2 board members, I believe. Is that correct, Jessica?
I believe it's less than a quorum.
Less than a quorum, so that would be 3
Yeah.
at the most, then 4 would be a quorum for 7. So that might be another way to handle it. If you try to get through the audit report, and instead of trying to, if we receive the audit report this month, schedule an audit report presentation for March, maybe do it in April, but schedule a meeting if board members are interested for up to 3 board members to come in, get the report ahead of time, come in and sit with the auditor, because it'd be useful to actually have the auditor.
That's better. Yeah.
Does that sound like a workable
Yeah, that
solution?
can work.
Okay.
Just along those lines, members, are you all able to retrieve the documents through board pack? Is there anyone, like myself, that might have some trouble from time to time retrieving the documents? Would you does anybody prefer the old-fashioned way of electronic mail?
Well, actually, our executive session materials come by email at least a week, right?
Yeah, that, so if you want, if board members are having difficulty getting the electronic version, just let us know. We can mail it to you, or we also have a messenger that can actually deliver the materials to your office or to the location that you'd like it delivered to.
Okay, members, we'll just contact manager's office if you prefer an alternate method to receive the documents. But on the audit, specifically with respect to the audit issue, we'll take that into consideration.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you know, I meet with Ernie at least once a month, every month. Board members, you're welcome to give the manager a call or meet with him.
We'll take the first 3 that call for meetings, because we cannot go beyond 3. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
All right, is there any further discussion on the minutes? Any amendments, anybody notice anything? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, moving on to the next item. This is resolution number 893, 2019, relating to the acceptance of gifts to the Board of Water Supply from various donors in support of the 2019 Water Conservation Week program. Chair recognizes Ms. Tracy Burkle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Anaya, Manager Lau, members of the Board of Water Supply Board of Directors. Kathleen Elliott Pahinui, our information officer, sends her regrets that she was unable to be here today. So she asked us to handle this. We recommend the adoption program. The donor's total value of these gifts is $11,900. There's a $2,400 gift from Sodexo, and that's for refreshments for our award ceremony reception. There are $2,000 gifts each from the Board of Water Supply, Hawaiian Tel Federal Credit Union, the Friends of Alavazera Escape Garden, and Times Supermarkets. There are three gifts of $1,000 each from Alexandra and Baldwin Incorporated, Aloha Pacific Federal Credit Union, and Hawaii Energy. And finally, there's a $500 gift from Acacia, Hawaii. These gifts will be used to support our water conservation program, which is currently in its 41st year of existence. The program is a successful non-running public education program for Oahu students in grades kindergarten through 12. It teaches the value of drinking water and careful use of it. Studies have shown that when youth embrace water conservation practices at an early age, they're more likely to encourage their parents to be water efficient and later raise water-smart families. Through this program, the Board of Water Supply hopes to inspire more customers to adopt behaviors that support water conservation. So these sponsored gifts are actually going to help the Board of Water Supply to offset our program costs that include the printing of 20,000 copies of our 2020 water conservation calendars that will feature this year's winning entries, as well as the award ceremony for the place winners and honorable mentions of this year's contest. The calendars are distributed to all Oahu schools, elected officials, and the general public. We deeply appreciate the continued support of this board for this very valuable and worthwhile public education program. All participants in our Water Conservation Week program are encouraged to always embrace their roles as responsible stewards of our precious water resource.
Thank you.
All right. May I call for a motion to approve acceptance of these gifts? Second. Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, we accept the gifts from these donors and hereby pass resolution number 893, 2019. Ms. Burgo, please communicate our gratitude to the donors and as well as the participants.
I will do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, item number 3 is a similar resolution, number 894, 2019. This is for the acceptance of gifts to the Board of Water Supply from City Milk Company for our Detect a Leak Week program. Ms. Burgo?
Thank you for sharing that. We recommend the acceptance of the proposed gift to the Board of Water Supply, City and County of Honolulu from City Milk Company Limited of 5,000 toilet leak detection dye tablets valued at $515.50. This is in support of our annual Detect a Leak Week program, which helps to educate the public about the importance of regular leak detection as an effective means to prevent unnecessary water loss. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the average American home can waste more than 10,000 gallons of water every year from running toilets, dripping faucets, and other household leaks. The most common household leaks are in toilets. So during Detect a Leak Week, the public will be able to pick up toilet leak detection dye tablets at any City Mill store, satellite City Hall location, or in the lobby of the Board of Water Supply's Public Service Building here at 630 South Eartham Street. We are observing Detect a Leak Week we're observing Detect a Leak Week statewide from March 18 to 24, 2019, with each county water department coordinating its own public outreach program. We greatly appreciate the continued participation and commitment of our community partners and our customers who support this worthwhile program, which encourages all customers to embrace their role as responsible stewards of our precious water resource. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Burgo. Members, may I call for a motion to approve the acceptance of the gifts from City Mill for our Detect a Leak Week program?
So,
Okay, moved
Second.
and seconded. Is there any discussion?
how did these things work?
The program or the
No,
tablet?
the tablets, how does the tablet?
Okay.
Put it in the toilet.
Would you like to
Yeah,
explain?
it's
Tracy?
But they
Ah,
don't.
Oh,
so
they-
is
The color.
She'll explain.
Okay, if you don't mind, what you do is you take the dye tablet and you throw it in the toilet tank.
Okay.
And that'll turn the water blue. If you, see the blue in the toilet bowl and you haven't yet flushed the toilet, that means there's a leak from the tank into the bowl. And usually what the cause is a defective flapper valve that sits at the bottom of the tank. So if you just change out that valve, that just takes care of the problem.
So I guess it begs the question, how do you get that out to the general public? Is that distributed to the general public?
It's available at the sites that I had mentioned, City Mill, all satellite city malls, and here at the lobby.
okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's,
So if you go there and ask for it, then you,
They'll give you some
Yes,
guide
they
they'll
tablets.
give you, okay.
One thing to remember, they sort of look like candy, but it's really not candy. It's coloring.
Turn your mouth blue.
Yeah, they're like a food coloring. So it's certainly not to be meant to be eaten, but yeah. And the flapper valve can have leaks that sometimes people can't really hear, but it's leaking. Then every so often you hear the toilet running like it's refilling the tank, and it's because water's leaking around that from that rubber flapper valve. Yeah. It's a very common place of a leak in a toilet.
And I will comment that even the most non-handy person like myself, who is absolutely no good with their hands, can change the flapper out. Very easy.
Good job, Chair.
Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor of acceptance of this gift, resolution number 894, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries and we accept the gifts. And then once again, please communicate our thanks to the donor, City Mill.
we will do that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
All right, we're moving on to our items for information. First up is our Capital Improvement Program Quarterly Update. Chair recognizes Mr. Jason Takaki.
Good afternoon, Chair Andaya and board members. This is the quarterly capital improvement program status report as of December 31st, 2015 for all divisions. As you can see, the second quarter of the fiscal year 19 is very similar to the first quarter, so about $3 million in contracts. There were larger contracts, so there's less in the contract count, but the numbers are virtually the same. As you can see, the total budgeted though is $119 million, so there is quite a long ways to go before the end of the fiscal year. The second set of numbers shows you the contracts that were completed during the quarter, and the second page of the report gives the detail on the different contracts.
Members, any questions?
How do you go from 6 million to 119 million in the same amount of time?
One contract at a time. I think, I will say, the numbers are significantly less than they were last fiscal year. And that's because of the character of the budget this year. Capital projects, which makes the largest number of awards, has less of the budget than normal. We're down at about 58% of the CIP is with capital projects. A lot of our projects, in fact, almost all of our projects are waterline projects. Normally, we would have awarded some of our facilities projects earlier in the fiscal year. Waterline projects are very complex from a permitting and approval standpoint, because it is, as you understand, underground construction in public rights of ways. So it takes a while to approve. There have been a number of things that have affected getting timely approval, but we are still optimistic that we will at least encumber cover our share of the budget. I can't speak for the rest. There are a number of big projects in there. There is probably most notably a new reservoir being put up by the Water Resources Division, and that's almost $18 million. And that's how you get to 100 million.
So what happens in the last 6 months, and it's been happening year after year, because it takes time in the beginning of the year to kind of go through the whole procurement process and contracting, that at the last 6 months of the last 2 quarters of the year is when a lot of the work comes out and gets awarded and encumbered. So we'll probably anticipate having the last 2 quarters being quite busy, with the biggest buildup on the 4th quarter. And this is actually very consistent with my experience at the state government too. Would be nice if we could do more in the first 2 quarters. We are improving though. $3 million each quarter is better than it was a few years ago when the number would be closer to 0 in the first quarter. But there's still room for improvement. Still, it's going to be probably a big rush down to the last 2 quarters.
And one of our objectives within capital projects definitely is to move the advertisement dates and award dates closer to the beginning of the fiscal year, but that takes planning and it's slowly movement, because when you do the awards like this year, when you award your contracts at the end of the fiscal year, then you are working to get those contracts underway, shovels in the ground during the first half of the fiscal year. So as we move them closer and closer to the beginning of the fiscal year, then everything would be, it takes a while to do that, but it does make it easier for everyone. Makes it easier for us to program, also makes it easier for everyone else who has work related to our project work.
In terms of advertising the projects, is there any way to move them earlier, even before the fiscal year? Is that something that's possible?
We can't really advertise something that we don't have a budget approved for. But what I was suggesting was actually beginning some of the process a little earlier before the fiscal year, like initiating some of the procurement, creation of committees for projects that we think will be coming, and getting those approved so they can do the selections. And that's for professional services. For bids, we actually have to advertise and put it out to bid and make an award. So that definitely couldn't go out before the budget actually takes effect. But we can get the documents all prepared ahead of time. And the more we can do earlier in the year to package and get it ready so that come first, second quarter, we're actually going to make selections of design consultants or putting construction out to bid, the better. It's improving, but slowly.
It is a scheduling of the entire design process, and yes, we can and are planning to do better. It's because there's so much collaboration, communication that we need to do with outside agencies. It's been difficult, particularly with dealing with agencies that are struggling themselves with understanding. What we don't want to do is take out our projects prematurely without all the permits and approvals in place, because we just end up with more trouble during construction, and those can be costly.
Yeah, in terms of the budgeting process, and I understand that the fiscal year is when, that's when we actually have it budgeted for. Is there, short of moving our fiscal year, which I know we probably can't do, but is there something we can do?
There are some options, and I believe the city may have tried this, but at the state government, which I worked for there for almost 10 years, the operating and the CIP was basically a biennial budget. For Board of Water Supply, everything is an annual budget, 12-month budget. So we either encumber it in 12 months or it lapses and gets reappropriated maybe the following year. At the state level, the CIP, if it's the first year of the biennium budget and it's approved, the CIP item, I think they give up to about 3 years to encumber those funds, on a longer time frame. But if it's the second year of the biennium, then there's only 2 years to go under a supplemental budget. So that's some of the changes. I think the city may have tried that, but I'm not sure what the results were. We'd have to look into this, and we can report back to the board.
I think the city is 18 months here.
18 months right now.
We tried 18 months here too, and decided to go back to that.
Why?
How come?
It ended up with all of the awards in
Last few months.
so it ended up with all of the awards in the last quarter of the calendar year, which is even more difficult. We don't even like to advertise in the last month or last 2 months of the year because everyone's too busy. We don't get good bids.
Yeah, I don't think that we don't understand the problem. I think at least 3 of us have worked in government a long time. A big problem though is the sister agencies, BFS, Corporation Council, everybody's stacked up at the same time. And that if we have delays, that's because everybody's getting delays. If we can somehow alter our calendar to push more and more into the first and second, and I understand you guys are trying, I appreciate that. It'll ease the burden on them, it'll increase the flow for us.
It actually makes better use of staffing resources too, rather than staffing for the peak. We're staffing to try to create a more level flow of work right now. That is, I agree. That would be, if we can achieve that in the next few years, that would be a great thing.
So, sorry, how do we achieve that?
Right.
What
We
is the
report
plan?
back, yeah.
What do we have to do?
I think some of it is kind of streamlining the process, if we can become more efficient. But it's kind of the scheduling of the projects. If we can try to schedule things maybe, and I think we're trying to do that already.
Right.
Schedule things to go out in the first 2 quarters of the year, either contract execution for professional service, procurement for professional services, or putting the bid out in the first 2 quarters.
Right. And I think this is exactly what I was talking with our design branch head this morning. In time, we can have enough projects that are ready to go that can be, if not the ones we already had planned, we can substitute something else and do a timely advertisement and award. So we are moving in that direction. We do have a plan to get there, but it takes time.
So we agree. We know what the goal is. We're still trying to work on solutions to get us to the goal. But we're not there yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Board members, any further?
I'd be interested in reporting back. I'd be interested in finding out more about when you used to look at a longer period to encumber the funds, whether that's 18 or 24 months, and why the decision was made to go back other than the scheduling the last.
I wasn't here when that happened, but I'll discuss it with my team here, and we'll come back and report back to the board. Could that report occur at the next quarterly capital CIP report, if it's okay? We'll just note that so we can cover it next time we report back to the board in a quarter. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the report, Mr. Takaki. We're going to move on to the next item, the recruitment status update. Chair recognizes Miwako Coker.
Yes, my name is Mawako Coker. Good afternoon. I'm here to report the activities on our positions, and I'm sure there's another slide. But for the quarter of November 2018 to January 2019, we have the 20 new hires action, 7 promotions, 4 transfers, 14 separations, 27 new approvals to fill, and then 4 cancellation requests. And then that is the overall chart, and then this slide shows the detail of each items. Do you have any question?
Members, any question on what's presented thus far? Are we gonna be covering the,
We'd also like to share some of the things we made changes to try to address recruitment
okay,
in the next presentation related to this item on the budget, item on the agenda. So I think Miwako, is it gonna be Stella that's gonna do the next part? Or Miwako is part of our Human Resources Office, and Stella is part of our Communications Office. So they're doing a tag team here.
Just so I understand this, you're saying that there are 29 filled positions?
Okay.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
29 filled positions in the last 3 months and 14 terminations? Or separations, whatever you call it.
I'm sorry, 20 new hires?
You need to go to the reporting, please.
Can you go back to the last slide? Am I reading this correctly, that there are 29 filled positions in the last 3 months and 14 separations? Is that what we're seeing?
Yes, the field positions are from the external, open list is from the external sources, and then IDC list is internal sources. And then the separations are in the combination of retired
Got it.
and resignation.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was reading that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Miwako. Michelle's here, but she's having a little difficulty with her voice today, so she asked her team member Miwako to make the presentation. So I'll let Stella do the other part of this report.
Good afternoon, board chair and board members. Again, my name is Stella Bernardo with Communications Office. I'm here on behalf of Kathleen Elliott behind me, who sends her regards. She was not able to attend today. As previously discussed in the January board meeting, there was a conversation about recruitment initiatives. And what we would definitely appreciated the feedback provided by the board during that meeting. And we also wanted to provide an update of some of the initiatives that we already had in progress and have been able to launch since the January board meeting. So very quickly, you can follow this in your board packet materials. Or if you'd like, you can also go to boardofwatersupply.com/jobs, because that's also a live page on the website. So first things first, that what we did was add a fixed position on the home page for the job listings. You'll see it here on the right corner of the screen right there. That allows those who are visiting the website to have a much more ready access to viewing those job listings as we have available. Long term, we are looking at redesigning the homepage a little bit, because we have a couple of different messages we want to be able to feature at the top half of the page, and we need a little bit more space to accommodate that and still allow for the fixed positions for things like the jobs and recruitment. Here, what you'll see is also a couple of our updated jobs pages. What we did want to emphasize here is to be able to show both the values and the mission that the Board of Water Supply is focused on. Of course, we're looking at providing safe, dependable, and affordable water, and we want that to be a part of the daily aspect of our employees and what they do to achieve that each day. And if you'll see here on the right corner here, this is a navigation menu. What that does is allow those who are visiting the website to see some of the postings that are available, specifically the non-civil service positions or the contract positions. And I'll show you on the next page how we're handling both those as well as the civil service positions that are available. And on this page here, what we've been able to work on is to allow those who are going to apply for those contract positions to apply online, either by submitting a resume or submitting an online application. So they're able to see the current position postings, the job descriptions, and then apply directly on the website. Very fast if you are applying by resume, or it takes a few more minutes to fill out the online application itself, and then that gets submitted to our Human Resources Office here. At the top of this particular page here, the Find a Job page, we actually feature the positions that are being recruited through the Department of Human Resources. I believe right now we have about 7 to 10 positions that are currently being recruited through the Department of Human Resources for civil service positions. We were also able to get a link on the DHR website. You may be able to see it down there at the bottom, but right down there at the bottom of the page, we have a link that refers people to the non-civil service positions that are available at the Board of Water Supply. That's also where there are links for HART as well as the Office for Climate Change and Governance. So again, trying to make sure that we have equal placement with our sister agencies as much as possible during the recruitment process. We're also doing more social media posts. You'll see examples here from Twitter and Facebook. We did actually have a number of positions open over the weekend, so we're also posting on Instagram, Nextdoor, which is a private social media network, as well as on Google. So there's a lot of placement right now online and through social media for the different positions that we have available. And we also have in progress a bus card, so you'll see that first design right here. We're hoping to be able to refine that particular layout and get that distributed on the buses in a couple of weeks or in a few months so that we have that available. And you'll see on the right-hand side is a sample of a flyer that is available to go to job fairs or to be shared and distributed through various locations. A few other things just to kind of keep in mind. One of the topics of discussion from the previous meeting was doing testimonial PSAs. We are working on those. We will, the first one will actually be coming to the communications office. And we will also be working with the various divisions and offices here to identify a spokesperson, if you will, for each of those divisions to represent the types of openings that they have. Those PSAs, once available, will be posted on Alilla. We'll be able to share those on social media. And as we live stream the board meeting, the pre-board meeting period, about 15 minutes prior, we'll actually be running these PSAs and different information components prior to the board and after. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Members, any questions?
When did this all go up?
I believe we just launched about 2 weeks ago.
Do you have any, I mean, that's not very much time, but just any feel for any increased traffic?
We do know that we've had a lot of people comment that they were able to find the information more readily, and that I would need to defer to the HR office in terms of how many applications have come in. But we do know on social media we've seen a lot more sharing yesterday and this morning for the positions that we were promoting, and people are sending them to their friends and family and saying, hey, go apply, go check this out. So hopefully we'll be able to see in a couple of weeks' time in terms of applications or in terms of page traffic.
I just want to recognize that the idea for these changes started with the board chair after the last board meeting. Because of that, and he was right. The board chair pointed out that it was very difficult to find jobs on our website. And then when you go to the city's website, which is actually all the civil service jobs are posted at the city's website under Department of Human Resources, honolulu.gov. They use a system called NeoGov, and it's an online application process. Not very easy to find a Board of Water Supply job. So thanks to the chair for those suggestions and the hard work of our Human Resources Office and our Communications Office in putting all this together. The redesign of the website, Stella is like our webmaster. The bus poster is actually designed in-house by Blaine. Is he here? No, he's not here. But Blaine actually designed that, laid it out ourselves. So thank you for the suggestions. If you have any other ideas on how to get the word out to people about job opportunities at the Board of Water Supply, we'd be very open to them and appreciate it.
No, I do want to thank both communications as well as human resources for making the changes. From what I can see, it's a huge improvement. I also have noticed on social media more activity. So I do hope it would translate into some results. I was noticing that January was the best month we had in the quarter. I was hoping to attribute that to the changes, but I think it's premature to do that. But I think we have a wonderful thing, you know, here at the Board of Water Supply, Water for Life. That's an incredible message that I think will resonate with a lot of people out there, especially including millennials. And if we're going to achieve our mission, it's important to keep the talent pool.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate any suggestions that any of the board members might have in this area. You can always call me later too, if you have ideas.
One thought really quickly, actually, there was a really good piece on NPR this morning looking at how some entities and agencies are incorporating loan forgiveness as part of, as an additional draw, and especially for attracting not just young people, but also families who are sending their kids back to school. And so it's an additional benefit that folks are considering, that as they're doing surveys, many folks have been rating as, a significant consideration for jobs. So if you, as an additional benefit, the organization will contribute a certain amount up to, for example, one that they talk about, I think it was LLU Mutual Pay, over the course of your time there, up to $10,000 towards student loans.
Student loan
Yep,
debt.
student loan debt.
Yeah.
And that could be applied either for your own debt or for your child debt that you take on for another family member. Yeah. So, just one consideration. If we're looking at how to draw in and keep young talent.
Thank you.
How is your recruitment for interns
Um,
going? You've
Engineering student
yeah,
interns?
engineering student.
Let me ask my staff here. Jason or Barry, engineering student interns, how has it been? Your experience so far? Maybe you can step up to the podium.
I will say we have been successful with our student intern program over the years. Right now, we don't have space for students. We're looking to fill full-time civil service positions, but I do believe that that is the way to go. My discussions with the people in private industry and with the students, graduating students at the College of Engineering, they all have intern jobs, and they are either going on to full-time positions at those firms or have already found a position in their the final semester of their senior year. So yeah, I think student interns is the way that we'll need to go, but we'd also like to hire if we can.
So when you say we don't have space, you mean physical space for them to
Physical
work in?
space. We do not have physical space. Although, we do have a mechanical engineering student starting Friday. Yeah.
A very short.
Friday's the first, right? Yeah, Friday's the first.
What's very interesting is that with the UH College of Engineering, we've been actually very successful in attracting civil engineering student and engineering student interns, mechanical, and have we even done electrical too? We have electrical, so that program was actually built a long time ago, but we made Board of Water Supply very good use of it. One of our branch chiefs in our Water Resources Division, I feel like a proud father because I hired him in 1990 as an engineering student intern, and he's still with the Board of Water Supply and is now one of our leaders in the area water systems planning at the Board of Water Supply. And he's gone out and built his team to a large extent on engineering student interns too. It's a good model for us, and it's worked well. It isn't the only solution. We do need to fill through other
You gotta
ways.
do all these things, yeah.
Right, there is no one silver bullet that is gonna be the solution to filling all our vacancies, but you have to take a variety of approaches and just be open to it. There is something called a Poa-Kela program too, which we have been very fortunate to have some good people come to work here at the Board of Water Supply through the Poa-Kela program. Not only engineers, but also non-engineers.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I would strongly encourage, you know, the internship program. I've heard, some great comments, from people who have been through the program. I do think it's, one of the keys, I think, to, again, attracting the talent, that we need to accomplish our mission. So whatever we need to do to keep it going or to even grow it, I would strongly encourage.
And I would ask, is there anything that we can do to help with the space issue? Anything that we can address that immediately?
Build a building.
Right.
That's only one part of it. It's also trying to optimize our use of space within these buildings,
Right.
which is an active project that we're working on through our capital projects division. It is going to require doing some things to try to work with workspaces that are more smaller but more efficient for our employees. We are even looking at what do we do with the fourth floor of this building, which is currently in use, used to house a great eating place that used to serve a mean oxtail soup and a great beef stew on Friday, oxtail soup on Thursdays. I always used to look forward to that. Hamburger steak was also a very good deal there. But unfortunately, they closed down a number of years ago, and that space is underutilized right now. So we're looking at what shall we do with the fourth floor, and how shall we optimize our use of space within the current buildings. We have adopted some space standards based on your position to try to be more consistent. And it could also mean that my office, the manager's office, is going to shrink by a half or a third, 2/3 in the future once we get through the renovation. So at some point, the board may be looking at a modernization of the existing public service building, engineering building, and pump buildings. And we might look redoing some of the floor plans to be more efficient in use of space.
Is this part of the redevelopment?
There are two efforts, yeah. There's an effort to look at existing buildings, which is not covered by the potential redevelopment project. Between those two, we hope to be able to solve some of our challenges in terms of space for future growth. There's also the leveraging of our base yards, of the land at our base yards. In particular, if we could redevelop the Copper Lake base yard, create a new base yard there, we may be able to take a vintage World War II large warehouse at Manana base yard, demo that, and then redevelop on that site more efficiently. So those are some of it's a variety of different approaches. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next item, item number 3 is the status update of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Mr. Barry Usagawa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Not much changed from last month. Going through winter, pretty steady. No groundwater index wells are in low groundwater status. Potable production was 131 mgp, which is just under the 5-year monthly average. The last 3 months, we've been rainfall has been below average, but the 5-month moving average is still above normal. And so water levels remain high through this winter season, and we should be able to accommodate the summer months that are upcoming. That's my report.
Members, any questions?
I have a question. Barry, I noticed that for 2018, the monthly production was significantly below the 5-year monthly average. Is that just because it was rainy or what for last year? It just seems significantly, I mean, at least on the
I'd like
graph.
to say the success of our conservation program.
Oh, okay, of course.
But it has, from a month-to-month basis, it's really tied to weather.
Right.
And from August through November, we had 287%
Right.
rainfall. So we had a wet summer, which is the high demand period,
Right.
which drives the production lower than it would be otherwise. So yeah, it is. But I believe it's a combination of both
Yes.
Definitely.
weather and conservation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report. Moving on to the next item. Item number 4 is a water main repair report for January 2019. Chair recognizes Mr. Mike Fouquet.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. During the month of January, we had 27 main breaks. The majority of the breaks occurred on the older cast iron pipes. The detection team surveyed 45 miles. And from this survey work, we repaired it. We had 3 leaks that we went in and repaired it before it became a major issue. Any questions?
Members, any questions?
It's good.
Okay, if not, thank you for the report. And that brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Before I move for executive session, I would like to announce and congratulate our fellow board member, Mr. Jay Utai, for being appointed and confirmed as Department of Transportation.
Only the confirmation hearing, not
You got one more step.
the.
You got one more step?
You gotta go face the 25, someone.
Oh, you never did a full set.
The full Senate.
Full set. I thought that
The full
occurred
Senate.
already. Okay, well, we'll save the congratulations for next time, but great job on the confirmation hearing before the committee. All right, motion to go into executive session?
It was just a quick question. Ran into the Farm Bureau guys, and how is their, I know the Farm Bureau has money in the bill at the legislature to run a well in Central Water, to drill a well in Central Water.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but I'll just be very quick so I don't create a sunshine problem here.
Well, it was just a question.
But yeah, just to answer your question very quickly, there is a bill that's being supported by the Farm Bureau and others, and the Board of Water Supply to actually have the state do a CIP project using general obligation bonds where the state would be responsible to repay the debt, but to fund the drilling of an exploratory well in the Kunia area. And that well would be used to help supply future ag development in that area. So we're looking at that as a way to get the state to contribute to the efforts to help farmers that the Board of Water Supply has been doing for well over almost 50 years now, through discounted water rates for farmers.
And we're in support of them?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This one, thank you.
You know, that's a really good example of an issue with the sunshine. He could have had that conversation in Bernie's room, and none of us would have heard that, and the public wouldn't have heard that. Something's wrong where the only way we can ask questions off the agenda leads to that information not being dispersed. Asking it here in an open meeting is valuable to the public and valuable to all of us. We gotta get something changed. We gotta work on it. Improve the
Just for the board's information, we were planning to do a legislative update in March after first crossover, so.
Well, maybe a little sooner
That's more a
because,
general comment.
yeah, but I think it would be sooner just for information because maybe some of us, like myself, go up there
Yeah, see you there.
put in our 2 cents, you know, so I think maybe as part of the agenda, maybe that could be like during this time, if there could be a bill such as that any one of us, if we're up there, could say, hey, that's a good bill to support.
If the board would like, I could maybe in discussions with Corporation Council, see if any other boards or commissions has an item that allows for things like this to come up.
Yeah, usually, on that note, in a previous commission, who I will not name, but usually you can, there's a procedure that you could use to sunshine an item onto an agenda. There is a procedure to do that.
We
So,
can move to
just to
amend-
let you,
Yeah.
just to let you know.
I mean, we could move to amend the agenda and then.
Yeah,
to add
there's
this.
That's
a
the beginning.
procedure which, you know, which I don't mean to belabor at this point, but we could have Corp Council guide us through the next time.
Okay, we can ask our council to look into different mechanisms to do that.
If the board chair, if it pleases the board chair, I could discuss this with your board.
Oh, I think this is it right
Yeah.
now.
Okay, okay, good. As a mechanism, and then just let us know what's an appropriate approach.
All right, anything further? All right, can we have a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, let's prepare for executive session.
Thank you.
You don't have to go to extremes to save water. For easy water saving tips, visit boardofwatersupply.com.